Welcome to today's deep dive. You know, you've probably seen a dozen magical school anime, so when you hear that the Iceblade Sorcerer shall rule the world just got confirmed for a season 2, you might be wondering why this specific story survived such a massively saturated market.
Right. And it basically survives by weaponizing the overpowered protagonist trope rather than just playing it straight. We're actually looking at the new teaser, visual, and production announcements today to understand exactly how the series manages that delicate balance.
Wait, but let's look at the foundational premise first, though, because Ray White is a literal god of ice, right? Like a devastating war hero.
Yeah, exactly. The Iceblade Sorcerer himself.
Right, so why does he enroll in Arnold Academy? I mean, it's this incredibly snobby elite school, and he just pretends to be a commoner who can't even cast a basic light spell. It feels like, I don't know, a cheap excuse to force a god-tier character into a relatable high school setting.
Well, yeah, it totally sounds like a gimmick on paper, but mechanically, it serves a very specific narrative purpose. The show operates kind of like a pressure valve.
A pressure valve? What do you mean by that?
So you get these super intense, life or death magical duels, right? And just when the political intrigue starts feeling suffocating, the show releases the tension with this completely bizarre muscle brain comedy.
Oh, right, that weird muscle training obsession.
Yes, exactly. Where they almost die in battle and then immediately pivot to doing squats.
So that isn't just filler then. It's the actual release valve that keeps the heavy magical politics from crushing the story.
Yep. And that valve is about to be heavily tested because that newly dropped teaser visual is a massive departure from the bright, schoolyard aesthetic we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, the visual is incredibly striking. Ray looks visibly battle-hardened, surrounded by these jagged, intense crystalline structures and like this aura of sheer frozen power.
Right, and because it's so dark, your immediate assumption is that the narrative is abandoning the schoolyard act entirely.
Which makes me wonder, are we just done with the exams and school stuff?
Well, the story is definitely expanding beyond academy exams. The focus is shifting heavily toward the high-octane drama of the 7 Grand Sorcerers.
Oh, and those shadowy organizations that are actively trying to exploit Ray's power, right?
Exactly. He's being dragged back into the high-stakes, much colder world he was trying to escape in the first place.
See, that makes me a little nervous about the execution. Because the new teaser looks so visually dark and edgy, my immediate worry is that a tonal shift to heavy political intrigue will just, crush the quirky charm that made Season 1 work so well.
And that is a very real risk when stakes get raised in sequels. However, looking at the production credits really puts that fear to rest for me.
Right. Studio Cloud Hearts and director Masahiro Takada are returning to helm the project. But instead of just reading those names off a sheet, why does keeping the same director actually matter so much for the animation and storytelling here?
Because navigating the shift from tragedy to comedy requires highly specific directorial timing. Like, a new director might lean way too hard into the jagged, edgy aesthetic of the new teaser.
So they might just lose the comedy entirely.
Yeah, exactly. By keeping the original team who adapted Nana Mikushiba's Source light novels, they maintain strict continuity in the pacing. They know exactly how to drag characters like the enthusiastic Amelia Rose or the scholarly Elisa Griffith into Ray's frozen conflicts without losing the underlying warmth.
I love that. So for you listening, the real takeaway here isn't just that it's a show with good action. It's really a masterclass in tone.
It really is. I mean, it deconstructs the undercover badass trope by showing that Ray's true strength isn't his ice magic at all.
Right. It's his earnest desire for mundane, trivial things like muscle training with his friends that grounds him in a world completely obsessed with magical hierarchy.
He uses the mundane to survive the magical.
That is such a fascinating way to put it, which leaves you with something to mull over. We are so used to cheering for this undercover badass setup.
Oh, definitely. It's a total staple.
But if Ray is essentially a child soldier suffering from the trauma of war, is Arnold Academy actually a place for him to heal? Or is he simply hiding from the psychological fallout of being a human weapon?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and as new magical threats emerge, at what point does pretending to be an ordinary student put his friends in far more danger than simply unleashing the Iceblade Sorcerer?